Talgan beheaded the traitor. Later, their name and presence would be stricken from all records by Vilcata, and Benzo Talgan beheaded the traitor. Later, their name and presence would be stricken from all records by Vilcata, erasing the traitor's identity from history. Sorkus returned from his ambassador trip and set up a system to prevent such an attack from happening again. Elite Commander Flaminblade stepped down and was replaced by an up-and-coming knight, Ricers. And that, unfortunately, is where his story ended. However, it is a good indicator of how fun and turbulent the group was back then. So much backstabbing, raiding, and promotion went on that there was always something to do, and always good memories to be made. It sounds like an extremely fun time. The Knights of Redcliffe group has a lot to offer to do. If you just joined, you'll want to be on the lookout for a training session, which usually happens once on Saturday and once on Sunday. For a training session, a high-ranked member will make a group shout telling everyone to join them in one of the regular trainings, which I'll talk about more in a bit. After a short time, everyone who joins will be assembled into a group, and then be told what to do. Depending on what game the training is taking place in, you could be asked to do several different exercises, from dueling to ranged combat practice to even obbies if they want to test your agility. The high-rank member officiating the training will give out points to trainees if they do well in a particular exercise, and if you obtain enough points, they may decide to give you a promotion. The Knights of Redcliffe also host game nights, where members visit a game made by a non-Redcliffean just to relax and have fun, and recruitment sessions where they attempt to recruit more members in recruiting games. There's also one other event that I had never really heard of any other group doing before now. It's called Bard's Night, and it's an event where members will gather in a Redcliffe-owned place and hear stories from veteran members about things that happened in the group long ago. I find that to be a very interesting idea, and I'm not sure why more groups don't do that, because it sounds extremely fun. Upon joining the group, you'll be ranked as an apprentice. To rank up from there, you'll need to do well in trainings. If you obtain 1 to 2 points in a training as an apprentice, you'll be considered for a promotion to the next level. Alternatively, you can also buy a Redcliffe-themed bundle or gear, which will automatically grant you 1 free promotion to the next level as long as you tell a high-ranking member about it. The next level can be one of 2 ranks. If you're offered a promotion as an apprentice, you can choose to become either an archer or a knight. If you're better with ranged combat than melee, you'll want to become an archer, whereas if you're better with melee than ranged, you'll want to become a knight. However, do keep in mind that in the description of the Redcliffe Sword and Shield gear, Roblox officially states that knights are second to archers, so choose your role carefully. Once you've chosen your path, if you get 3 to 4 points during a training, you'll be considered for another promotion to Elite Archer if you were an archer before, or Drac Knight if you were a knight. These essentially play the same roles as the previous level, except they're capable of a lot more. The next level is where promotions start to get tricky. If you obtain 5 points in a training, the high ranks will discuss whether or not you're ready to be promoted to Enchanted Knights are meant to excel at both melee and ranged combat, and they're expressly handpicked by the high ranks for their maturity and activity. So even if you're a prodigy who ends up getting 5 points on your first training, you're likely not going to be promoted to Enchanted Knight right away. And now we come to the high rank levels. No one gets promoted to these levels unless someone who is already in one of those levels leaves their position, and in some cases, only if Sorkus explicitly gives his permission for that position to be filled. If one of those roles needs filling, it's usually by someone in the role below it, specifically handpicked by the people above it. First are the Knights of the Order and Master Rangers. There will always be 4 of both of these roles, and their job is to officiate trainings. Knights of the Order are usually more skilled with melee, while Master Rangers are more skilled with ranged combat. Then there's a special rank called Counselor, which is specially reserved for the owners of the other official clan groups and Roblox staff. This role has to be assigned by Sorkus. Legion Commanders are, in a sense, the managers of the managers. They help out with training, but they also generally oversee the group, as well as the Knights of the Order and Master Rangers. In a similar vein, the Elite Commanders are the managers of the managers of the managers, having power over everything the Legion Commanders do and more. Elite Commanders also have to be handpicked by Sorkus, because the next and final role, Windwalker, is reserved for Sorkus himself. So, judging by Sorkus' declining activity in the group, you may not be able to expect to be promoted to Elite Commander anytime soon, but it's still very possible to rise through the group's ranks and lead your party. Over the years, the Knights of Redcliffe have created a ton of impressive forts, cities, and training centers. In this section, I'll just focus on their top 3 most impressive. First up is Whisper Ward. Not much to look at, just a small rocky island with an inner chamber, an obby, some dueling platforms, and a few miscellaneous offense. but what is there is extremely tastefully built. There's details everywhere, from the curviness of the rocks to the ambience of this inner sanctum to the secludedness of this second island that I didn't even know about until my third time playing the game. It's simple but extremely effective in a way that is unmatched by any other game. And if I had to describe the complete opposite of that, I would say it's my next pick, the Redcliffe Furnace. This is an incredibly complex and detailed game, and it is a hellish environment. It's packed with chains, lava, and general hazards at every turn, and yet somehow, when you step into the main building, it still feels like you're with the good guys. If I had to use a simple phrase to describe this game, it would be an English tavern run by Satan. But it's not just beer drinking that goes on here. There's so much to do, including archery practice, an obby that takes you around the entire map, and an entire area specifically reserved for bard nights. This is definitely one of the most terrifying yet fun games that I've played in a while. My final pick is a lot less dangerous, but that doesn't mean it's not incredibly impressive. Port Rodak is possibly the most expansive game that the Knights of Redcliffe have ever created. Sure, there are some slight building errors here and there, but one can easily look past those and see how much effort was put into this place. It really feels like an ancient city that's slowly been built up over the years. In fact, the map is so wide that it doesn't render all the way unless you're on maximum graphics. Not to mention all the secrets hidden around here, like this obby that I'm pretty sure takes you all around town, but I wouldn't know considering that I fell off somewhere around here. I wholeheartedly enjoyed this place and would recommend it to anyone who has a few hours to kill. 10 out of 10. Finally, let's take a look at some of the items that Roblox has created to represent this group over the years. In terms of good items, we have the Redcliffe Knight Bundle, which is extremely classic and probably the first thing you think of when you think of Redcliffe. It goes great with the Redcliffe Battle Axe, which I think is a pretty sleek and subtle way of adding Redcliffe to your avatar. Another way to do that is through this Redcliffe helmet, which you may or may not have noticed that I'm actually wearing right now. If I had to pick a Redcliffe helmet that I enjoyed the aesthetic of the most, it would be the Redcliffe Winged Ninja Knight. And of course we can't forget about the basket of medieval rabbit valor, because not only is it a good looking gear, it's also incredibly funny. Also, fun fact, Roblox uploaded a mesh and texture for a Redcliffe themed Dominus at one point, but never actually published it as a real hat. It's a shame because if they had done that, it probably would be not only a big source of publicity for the Redcliffe group, but also the best item ever created. Of course, not every Redcliffe themed item is a winner. Around 2019, when Arthro was first being introduced, Roblox uploaded a bunch of Arthro Redcliffe characters, including the incredibly overpriced Redcliffe General and the Redcliffe Warrior, which until very recently shared the name of the free bundle Redcliffe Paladin. The Redcliffe Sword and Shield is also pretty dumb looking in my opinion. It's not sharp and it just looks like a big slab of rock. Overall though, the Redcliffe lineup of items is very impressive, and judging by these Arthro bundles, it seems like Roblox will continue to make them for a while, so I'll be excited to see what's in store. Overall, the Knights of Redcliffe is a great choice of group to join if you're just getting into this topic. As the main characters of the story, they have connections to every other group and tales to last you for days. I had an incredibly fun time researching them and would recommend joining them any day. It's at least better than this. Next up is Korblox's Empire, which, unfortunately, is dead. It currently sits at around 3.5k members, and since the join request I sent them around a week ago still hasn't been accepted yet, I've gotta assume no one else is getting in either. By all accounts, the current owner, former admin Ostrich Size, has not really interacted with the group at all since inheriting it from Shadow777777, and the person who was leading it instead, Spikeboy1011, has stopped playing Roblox entirely. Fortunately, the memories still live on, and through archives and anecdotes from former active group members like Zerky, I was able to create a pretty solid profile of what it was like to be a Korbloxian. Canonically, the Korblox Empire began when the powerful knight Zargus defeated the ancient king Cannabis and his clan of barbarians, who were exiled to the frozen wastelands of the north. After that, the story is picked up by a timeline described by Zerky, a former high-ranking member who went by the name Mage King. Apparently, after getting exiled, barbarians were forced to eat crystals and metal to survive, which started transforming them into monsters who had those materials covering their whole bodies. They started to grow restless and split off into 12 tribes, each one with skilled in a different human tradition. The Bloodbringer tribe loved blood and gore, and were often used as fodder and shock troops during wars, since it not only made them money, but also blood. In fact, they loved blood so much that their territory was bordered by a thick red wall of blood. The Runeforged tribe was the Korblox Empire's enchanters, frequently designing extremely high-quality enchanted weapons that were practically unstoppable on the battlefield. They were also very secretive of so they moved to the middle of an extremely hard-to-reach area known as the Howling Shards. The Cerbabellum tribe loved everything to do with slaves. They made their money selling slaves, got slaves to do all of their work for them, and were always on the lookout for prisoners to turn into slaves. To keep their slaves alive, they lived in a warmer area called the Bubbling Pits. The Frostflame tribe actually managed to master pyromancy with an interesting substance called cold fire, which combined with their natural cold resistance allowed them to withstand any temperature and get past any fire immunity charms. Because of their temperature tolerance, they were able to claim a lot of territory on the border of the Frozen Wastes. The Dreadwing tribe managed to tame the ancient ice dragons that inhabited the Frozen Wastes, and helped the Empire use them for everything from transportation to protection. They lived near the Rune Forgers in the Howling Shards, but tended to stay more towards the top of the tallest mountain there, Everfrost Summit. The Frostbone tribe highly valued ancient and traditional ways of combat, and had the tendency to rip bones out of their own bodies to use as weapons when they needed to. They lived in the ruins of an old fort called Whiteblind, among the corpses of thousands of Redcliffe soldiers that fell during a massive battle there. The Necroborn tribe was in charge of creating the zombie armies that the Korblox Empire often used in battle.